can see both sides of the argument, and we've seen it today in just this match.
Absolutely, and we discussed it in the pre-match chat that we had as well, and I think Shaka said, teams, especially when you play against teams like Celta, I think in a top of the table clash, it might not be as much the Mingueza foul, I don't think happens maybe in top teams, but anyway, they're going to provoke him because they know that he will react like we saw today and get a yellow, maybe a second yellow. There was a point in that second half where I thought that he might get a second yellow and get sent off at some point. So they will use that trick. Of course, it must be so hard for him to control himself, although I think he needs to learn how to not respond, how to not fall into in that provocation, because it will happen more and more as he gets older and better and competes for the highest titles as well through seasons. So we can look at other examples, someone like Messi, of course, who got kicked all his life and try never to react to it. I know how difficult it must be. Neymar was not so good at it. Others were a bit more like Vinicius, others more like Messi. I don't know. I don't think there's just one way of doing it. It depends a lot on personalities too. But if he will have to try to control himself a little bit, because things like what we saw tonight will happen again and again.
Yeah, and obviously that talent that Vinny's got is what's the most important here. Just looking at his numbers since his return from injury, these are quite some numbers of a player stepping up, Shaka.
And you understand why he's as targeted as he is, just because of these numbers. I think one of the things that, and Jules is right to liken him to Neymar or Messi, Vinicius Jr, and the difference between a Vinicius and a Jude Bellingham, let's say, is Vinicius runs at defenders, Jude Bellingham doesn't. And so he's the player, given his numbers, given his style, that the opposition often targets. You do feel for him, but while he's being targeted, maybe unfairly so, maybe far more than he should, you can't argue with his production. And as long as that continues, Carlo Ancelotti will be a happy man.
Yeah, this is one of the games that will be discussed on tonight's ESPN FC. Be sure to join Dan and the crew to look back on Liverpool against Manchester City, how Leverkusen fared today and if they could keep up their unbeaten run, and of course everything that's gone on in La Liga. And then tonight, coming up, it's the Women's Gold Cup final between the United States and Brazil, 8 p.m. Eastern on both ESPN Deportes and right here on ESPN Plus.